MIBR. There's no question there. They've just deleted them off Villa. What I'm interested to see now is, was that G2 being really good, which I'll be honest, it kind of looked like, or, you know, was it just MIBR not showing up? And I don't think that was the case. MIBR didn't even have time to be bad. G2 just ran over them. So I think it's going to be interesting coming into this one. Do G2 do things as efficiently, as well as they did on Villa? Personally, I'm thinking that is probably exactly what we're going to see, but who knows? It's going to be an interesting one, I'm sure. Like I say, there is elements of Clubhouse that do suit that LATAM play style, that aggression, getting into those late round gunfights where it becomes a bit of a bloodbath on site. There is certainly elements there that they could benefit from.
Well, the last time we saw G2 play on this map was back on the 22nd of October. They played against Existence in the first round of OGA. They won it 7-4. And interestingly, banned away the Maverick then as well. It was their ban of choice. But let's see how this map plays out. Echo also being banned away, of course, is the final one there. Means Maestro is available if desired. Sometimes see that getting played inside a garage when you're defending on CCTV. But with G2 starting on defense, it looks like Church is going to be the first port of call, with Pulse and Valkyrie being brought to the board. In fact, swapped out last second for a Clash. I wonder if they stick with that one, Ace.
Well, we've seen them play Clash once or twice recently. Fabian just trolling a little bit by the looks of it, switches out to the Maestro. But it's not massively unusual. We have seen him bring that Clash once or twice recently. Not to any great effect, I wouldn't say. G2 going to be starting us off on the defence down of Church and Arsenal. The big question on this site always, is there going to be a roam game or is it going to be a turtle defence? That's the big one. For me, from the way that G2 are playing, I'd like to see them stick a couple out right all the way up to top floor. Let's have Kanto and Uno all the way up to top floor and just make an absolute nuisance of themselves.
Based on the picks, I imagine it's more of an on-site piece for them. Maybe 4 on-site and then Uno playing up on the top floor, just ready to come in for a flank when ready. One thing I've got to mention real quick, I was speaking to someone earlier on and they were speaking to me about a Villa strat they play, a coach that I know, coming in from a different game. And he was saying, oh, I've thought about this strat where we're going to bring Thatcher and the Twitch at the same time. And I was like, no, very rarely do you see that. You see a Thatcher or you see a Twitch and an IQ. And we're seeing both being brought here, which for me just weighs in so heavily to MIBR, saying we need to make sure all these gadgets are gone. We're probably going to expect to be seeing something like a Valkyrie being brought in here. We don't want to get ourselves being caught out on jump outs or other crazy things. But the Capitao is maybe the big one for me here that we haven't seen banned away. Do expect that to get used here when it comes around to going for a plant. Those smokes, ridiculously useful.
We know how powerful Capitao can be. We've seen his ban rate go through the roof, especially since his fixation bolts were altered. The propagation of smoke was changed. It just really reformed him as an operator and brought him slap bang right back into the middle of the meta. And we just saw his pick rate go through the roof. So yes, if he's not banned out, generally he is going to be chosen. As we can see, we've got all 5 G2 players down on site. Uno is going to be looking to hold down Blue. He just strays a little bit too far out there and will take big shots from Cyber up at the top of Blue's stairs there. So that's going to leave Uno early on down to about 20 HP.
It's what you like to see from a Jaeger, who's getting involved, trying to take some gunfights, albeit admittedly in Uno's shoes not losing them, but at least it was a bit more pressure being applied elsewhere. A minute and 15 in and now most of the control is taken over by MIBR. The one thing they are really missing for this site that they could have sorely used would be something like a buck or a sledge. Take control of Kitchen, get Arsenal opened up and start looking to make your play. Because for now, everything is turning into, let's make sure we're taking control of what's going on around the hatches. With the Bandit on side, there is nothing G2 can stop these. G2 can do to stop these getting opened up, but right now no one's died. There's no real need to panic for them.
Obviously the big consideration here is Thermite being off the board, because it doesn't allow you to open that triple wall up in the same way. If you choose to go for triple wall, you've then restricted yourself in terms of hatches, because Hibana will need at least 1 or 2 sets of pellets on the church wall to do that. As we can see here, 1 set of Hibana pellets being used to open dirt, and that is something that we have seen from MIBR historically, is that they like to push the dirt tunnel. It is a bit of a LATAM common practice. We can see smoke grenades coming out now. Pengu just holding things down as best as he can. Takes about 40 damage there. But he's just going to continue that fight. Novice moves in with the first kill on to Uno, and that gets things going for the round. Pengu will get one onto Cyber in the dirt tunnel, though, doing a fantastic job out there of holding things down. We had Novice all the way into sight, but Fabian will shut that down with the Auda. Info or 2 quick kills, Crying and Kanto Raketti, 1 apiece, and that now leaves us all 4 members of G2 with 1 each. Pengu will get himself a second, which will mean that it's not quite a team ace, but not a million miles away.
every single gunfight being won, without fail, by the members of G2. Bar Uno, of course, going down, but outside of that, you saw the flurry of 3 kills that came in as MIBR tried to go for their coordinated push. Every single member of G2 is ready. Nice cheeky headshots flying through for 2 of them. Easy close out to that first round. And it's quite surprising because I expected from G2, again, we'd see Uno maybe rotate up to the top floor and look to play up there and come down the flank when we saw MIBR getting set up for their attack. But he was very happy to play on site. That was turtled to a T. There was no prevention what was going on with hatches, but MIBR still could not find a way to execute.
For me there, Pengu was a bit of a linchpin of that defence. He held down Dirt Tunnel. We had MIBR pushing in there, but think about what was happening at the same time as they pushed into Dirt Tunnel. They had Cyber and another man, I don't know who it was, that had pushed into Dirt Tunnel with them. At the same time, Novice pushed into site from Blue. He'd managed to clear Uno out, and he got himself down, and he pushed into site with the Capitao. Without the support being able to come from Dirt Tunnel, which was intended, 2 men would be joining him at that point. And at that stage, you have 3 men in the back of Arsenal. You've got a different situation. As it was, Pengu held on, got a kill, just pushed them back, and it meant that Novice found himself all alone and out in the cold in Armory for Fabian to turn on him with the Alder and just cut him down before anybody else could join him. So that really halted out the defence at that point, and what it did was just left everybody to be singled out rather than being able to build into the teams they were trying to form.
And by the looks of it, no one trying to drop hatch. It was just freedom for Fabian on the Maestro to be able to play wherever he wanted. He could sit there and say, right, I know Pengu's got it covered off inside tunnel. I can look in towards blue. I can look down main corridor towards main stairs. Take your pick either way. He was in a very comfortable position. So very well played by G2 in that first round. But now, of course, we're going to go to the other end of the building, head on upstairs instead. No huge sweeping changes coming through for either side, but Cyber is going to hop across to playing that Ashe in place of the IQ. For G2, bringing both the Bandit and that Kaid, they do not want to let MIBR through these walls.
Crying just out on a sort of a soft roam there, out to the bedroom side, just wanting to keep an eye on things so they don't get pushed from construction unexpectedly. We can see Cyber just crouch walking his way up the blue stairs there, just trying to keep himself quiet, no doubt trying to get underneath the wall there so that he can help with the opening of East Wall, get an Ashe charge underneath and clear any bandit that is playing there. As it is, there's just a single mute jammer down there. Uno is still in the room and still able to pay attention to that East Wall as and when he is needed, but as it stands, there's been no direct push towards that location yet. If we don't open East Wall, what is really going to be the play then, Des? Because at the minute, construction is being held down as well.
It's a real tough one, and I think even with potential swing outs coming here from the strip, like you saw a second ago, Cyber knows what was going on there. They got this information, and Crying gets himself caught out with no backup from anyone else, putting it into a 5 versus 4. But like you say, it's about trying to get those walls open. That's the big one right now. They may as well give up on trying to push through this east wall. The only thing you've got is a Hibana. You're basically relying on only messing up one of your X-Caros, otherwise you're done for. And you can't be using them to get through a construction wall, to go in for gym and bedroom if someone's playing that side as well. So much so that your main angle right here is going to be trying to force your way upstairs, and that's exactly what Cyber tried to do. Managed to shoot that C4 out the sky, and knows one is playing inside a garage as well. So good mindfulness here as well, but finding himself getting shot up, it doesn't matter. He finds a kill onto Kanto and gets a double kill in this round.
MIBR just growing into this match a little bit more now. Maybe that is what they needed, just a bit of boost of confidence. But Uno will step down to the bottom of the cash stairs and get himself a kill onto Cyber. He'll get a second for his trouble onto Bullet, and another one comes in from Pengu onto Novice. That will be a headshot, and now leave us in a 3 versus 2 in a quick swing around that sees MIBR going from being in complete control to now being on the back foot. We've got 2 men in construction, and the push is going to be limited to this side with only 15 seconds left. M-King gets a great view onto the foot of Fabian and will use it to its maximum effectiveness as he leaps out and just tries to apply pressure. What a great rotation to get the kill onto Pengu. 1 versus 2 now, but time is becoming a factor. And just in the nick of time, they will move in and get the kill onto Bandit. That will be Uno taken off the board, and a round chalked up for MIBR much sooner than they managed on Villa.
Really smart play to go jumping out of that construction window there as well. Rather than trying to shoehorn yourself in through the doorway from construction in towards cash, what do? You throw down some grenades, you force your way outside and get an immediate angle in towards the other side and find the rotation coming through. Really smart heads-up play from MIBR to give themselves a round and give themselves some hope here on the attacking side of Clubhouse. Very tough round, I've got to say again. coming down to playing against double electrification, when you've only got the Hibana, your options become very limited.
I've got to say, I feel like there was a bit of a mistake on the part of Crying there. I feel like he was on the sort of semi-roam in gym bedroom area where ultimately the push came from that won the round. He's moved himself downstairs to strip. There's nothing wrong with getting out on the roam, but he went down there for a run out that was fruitless, and then he moved back in, was completely unaware that Cyber was downstairs with him, and just ran into a cheap kill for Cyber and left G2 at man disadvantage. Yes, they managed to turn it round from sight, but ultimately it allowed MIBR that freedom to get themselves into construction, open the wall up from there, and then the rest was history. So I feel like Crying maybe just getting a little bit carried away there, getting down a little bit over-aggression, overextension, going for that run out. There's nothing wrong with that. Give it a whirl. It's only one round, but I feel like they just need to learn from that and rein it back in before it causes a problem.
Nice camera being yeeted up to the roof as well, so they know what's going on if anyone does dare try and play up towards that side of the map. And I agree with you, it's more that the middle area of the map then back towards Bar and in towards Stairway was kind of a dark zone for the team. They had no intel what was going on there. Not really the recovery from the rotation, but like you say, small mistakes, not going to be the end of the world given how your performance has been coming out so far. One apiece though, the third round, I should say, underway. Want to see what's going to change from MIBR. They now know what they're playing against is this double electrification setup. They don't have many ways of getting rid of it. You're relying entirely on the Thatcher being able to do that for them. I'm not convinced it's going to be as straightforward maybe as they would like it to be here on Club. And again, let's not forget, this was their map pick.
No, I think the thing is, MIBR now are going to have to do something different because G2 are very good at adapting. We know that. They're very good at recognising what they did wrong and changing it around. Crying this time, if you notice, staying much tighter there in the construction area. He's on the Valkyrie cams, and he's just going to look and take those drones out in bedroom. I think he's going to hold this bedroom area a little bit harder this time, rather than moving off into the map. You can see he's recognised that the drones are coming in from that side, so that would suggest that players are generally going to follow. Otherwise, you don't tend to send the drones in that way. So at this point in time, Cyber takes a cheeky look up through the hatch there and won't quite manage to land any bullets onto Crying. So this is better for G2, I feel, this time. They haven't lost that early man. We are a minute 30 in. But that being said, MIB are making good progress. That is until Fabian manages to pick up a horrendous angle vertically down onto Cyber there. 5 versus 4.
Nice little pick there as well, and a good time to rotate away from Crying. Could have got himself picked off if he wasn't careful from downstairs, but kept himself alive, got back onto site. The more men you got left alive from you trying to play these turtle setups, the better. It's the more angles you cover, the more trades that you can force. It's only going to play in your favour. And again, the electrification of these walls, not going to be easy to remove now. Great save as well of that Electroclaw. Straight back on again. Beautiful stuff.
That was fantastic. He must have heard the EMP land and just used that sound cue to pull the electrical off the wall before dropping it back on there. Bullet will be downed outside, and that will almost certainly be him out of the round. It will definitely be him out of the round as Pengu finishes things off with a headshot before he can be picked up. We just see Hugzord being peeked out by Crying there, and that's going to leave us now in a 5 versus 3 and a much, much better performance from G2 on this side. But how about that? M-King coming in and saying this one isn't finished yet with a double headshot. Crying and Fabian the victims, so that will now leave us in a 3 versus 2 down to about 15 seconds. So commonly the case here on Clubhouse that it comes down to the very end. Pengu with a tight angle through will get the final 2 onto M-King and Novice, and that will be round number 3 going in favour of G2.
You come at the real king, you best not miss. Pengu finding 2 kills at the very end there. Beautiful closeout, brings it all back.
What? So hot.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. Okay. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen you do in my life.
So, heading into round number 4, we're going to be looking at Church and Arsenal now. We've already seen G2 be very successful down here. Pengu holding onto that dirt tunnel very, very well. I think it's just going to be more of the same from them. I don't think they'll change it up too much. Like I say, there is the potential for putting a few people out on their own, but I just don't really see that they need to after the performance last time around.
This is the thing they missed last time that I'm really glad they've now 6 picked away to is this sledge. They had no tools to be able to rip up the floor. Last time around they were assaulting downstairs. I don't think they were expecting to be playing onto the downstairs back in the first round, but of course now we cycle back round. We get into this flow of expecting what sites G2 are going to go to. Downstairs, clearly one of the more stronger ones that they're more willing to go and play. It's having that sledge on side, you of course have control of the grenade. You have the angles you can open up inside of the hallway itself, just to try and restrict G2, because right now, they aren't really having to play the roam game. They're more than happy to just take gunfights while they're on site and win it out. And the small cute things like the Electro Claw being saved when we heard that EMP grenade come out, small little things like that can just completely lock these sites down. And as you saw, we had 2 members of MIBR being forced to burn every piece of utility they had just to try and get their way into site, and that still wasn't enough.
As it stands, we've got Kanto up there in the kitchen. Just looks like he is applying the reinforcement before heading back downstairs. We've got Uno looking for a potential run out. Will this be successful? He moves around. What a great start from Uno there. Just taking bullets off the board, and that's going to be some important utility lost. That's the Zafia. That is going to help those ADSs stay in place, because often they are used to just get in there and burn those before in come the smokes, in come the other useful utilities. Also, those stun grenades, just so powerful in the late round when you're trying to get a plant down. We can see Cyber's made quick progress though, and they will be unaware until shots connect with Uno. He will manage to save his life and live to fight another day, but only just. Cyber making a nuisance of himself from Moto. Less than a minute into the round, he really has dived in there. And how about that for an immediate response to the aggression of G2?
It's a great attempt from Cyber to get in there, just couldn't quite connect those final shots to bring Uno down and level out the scoring. On that run out as well, it's such an MIBR-esque play that G2 have just thrown back at them as well to really try and bring the game down to their level. And it's working wonders for them so far. They've got control of main stairs. They are on the other side of Church Wall. They've got 2 minutes to play with, but Cyber being down here, this is the sledge that you want upstairs, the one to start tearing up what's going on inside of Armory and making it really tough for G2 to sit and play static. But right now, there is no threat coming through. That soft breach is not coming out on their side, and now he's dead. They lose those grenades, they lose the hammer, and G2 can sit super safely inside of sight and just wait for MIBR to come at them.
And come at them they will.
They'll try.
With Novice getting a kill. It's now 4 versus 3 in favour of G2, but G2 looking pretty comfortable here. There is a lot of time left on the clock because of that early aggression and quick progress from MIBR. It has allowed them at least to be able to step back mid-round, reassess things.
On.
But they will have to reassess better than that as Novice steps into sight and turns his back to a waiting Pengu, who will get the easiest kill he's going to get all day on to the MIBR man, and that now leaves us in a 4 versus 2. Out come the smoke grenades just to try and slow things down a little bit. Pengu has dropped himself back deeper into sight, and this is all about how MIBR now need to create some angles. They need to force some movement in sight. They need to try and shift these G2 players around, but there isn't really any means for them to do that without the Capitao, without the sledge to create the vertical angles. There's just no way for them to really force any sort of movement in sight.
They're just really stuck at this point where they're out of utility, they're out of ideas. They've got a stun grenade to their name here, sat on the hit banner, but G2 find those final 2 kills super easy. And that's MIBR shut down. The thing is for G2, this is becoming easier because they know exactly where MIBR are going to come from. Barely any hatches have opened up. They know that it's a death drop when you've got no soft destruction to start opening up the floor around these hatches inside of Armory. What do? You have to force your way through Moto, down main stairs, start looking to push in towards Church. That is the easiest G2 can ask for it to become. 3-1 now, heading into round number 5.
MIBR there really need to use the operators they bring. If you're not going to open the floor up with Sledge, why bring him? Bring the Twitch. She's got the better gun. You know, if that's all you're taking him for, obviously there's the frags, but we didn't see those used to any great advantage. So for me at that point, if you're just using him as a gunner, take the best gun in the game. Take an Ash, take a Twitch, take something that you can go and get kills with. If you're taking the Sledge, you're taking the Buck, get them up above, get into kitchen, get into main stairs, open all that floor up and create those angles that are going to allow you to force. Look at Pengu. That kill that he got onto Novice, he's not allowed to sit in that corner if you've taken the floor up above him. If you've got somebody in kitchen watching those angles, looking into the corridor through the vertical, Pengu can't sit there and he gets forced away. And I think MIB are just really struggling to focus on the functional and getting the right things done.
Seeing Red a little bit too much, I think, potentially. I agree with you. Cyber again charging down the main stairs with the Sledge, knowing that all of Armory was still soft and was free for the taking. Was a little bit surprising, but we're into another round. Let's see how they can make this work out for them instead. Now, you're playing with the Sledge here rather than the Buck. If it was the Buck, you'd be able to get some work done from below. That's clearly not going to be the focus, and Bullet, understandably so, is on guard this round. Does not want to have another run out come charging at him from Uno, but at least this time round he is alive. Better safe than sorry.
round number 5. 3-1 in favour of G2, and this is really threatening to end up a landslide here, Des. We were 7-1 on the first map of Villa, and G2 not looking to slow down at all as of yet. And MIBR just not up to the task at the minute of being able to challenge them. They are taking the odd round here and there, but every time they take a round, G2 just seem to morph and adapt again and come back different.
Can we just appreciate how much denial G2 have brought in this round? They've got the Mute, they've got the Bandit, they've got the Kaid, they've got the Castle to try and force more utility to be expended to get through there. How many more ways can you say we do not want you inside this building?
Don't forget Jaeger. That's
honestly ridiculous.
As well.
That's more great for the grenades, absolutely. I mean, there comes the first of those EMPs coming out. Now, if they're playing it the same way they did before, I imagine you'll see Fabian sticking around near that wall and just waiting. You can hear grenades being burnt from the side of MIBR. The utility doing all the work they need right now for G2 to try and slow this round down further, doing a great job of it.
The thing is, with only having the Hibana there to open the wall up, it's actually quite an easy job, because once those pellets are activated, Bandit can apply the battery at that point. Kaid can pretty much apply his electrical about half a second before, and you're going to get the Hibana charges every time. So that's the difficulty they're having. By Kaid, that's it, they can't do anything. They've got the window open, but with Fabian playing the Kaid and is able to put the trick in there with the Kaid, it makes it very difficult, and they're going to start losing X-Kairos pellets. As we can see, they're now moving away. Operation failed.
Bailed on it entirely again. G2 just saying, we do not want you inside the building, stay away. And Cryan even finds himself a run out onto M-King here from below on the castle.
Are G2 out Latam?
It's starting to feel that way, because every single round is a different run out here. This angle's being watched very nicely. It runs through and will find himself picked off. So Novice, same as last time round. I don't think it was Novice last time, but there's still work being done to shut Cryan down as soon as he tries to rotate outside of Strip. Just put us down into 1-on-1. Now 4 versus 4 with 40 seconds on the clock. MIBR now running out of ideas. It starts to feel like they don't really have much more they can do. Now they've been hard on that wall. They've burnt so many grenades to force out the ADS. They committed so much to actually holding down the angle, and now going to have to start playing around these windows to just try and go for a straight jump in and go for a plant off the back of it.
Getting a couple of kills in the mid-round is all well and good for MIBR here, but as you say, all that G2 need to do now with 20 seconds remaining is keep themselves out of line of sight. Fabian gets a kill onto Hugzord. We are now coming down to window play and stair play. There's no other options. Bullet is going to have to move himself in. There we get Novice just getting downed by the electric wall, I think it was, that downed him. Uno gets a kill. It was indeed, as we see the very rare electrical kill symbol coming up at the top of that feed. Fabian finishing things off. And as I say, they just got reduced to, it's all well and good picking up a couple of mid-round kills, but on that site, if you don't get those walls open and you have to filter in through windows and stairs, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Sometimes the players' names and the way they sound just fit the situation so beautifully well. Running straight into an electric wall, finding himself downed, not really going to work out much better for him. Unfortunate. It's the way I plan it out. 4-on-1. G2 looking as dominant as they did back on Villa earlier on. For MIBR, they've been denied every single time they've tried to find a way through a wall. They can stack 2 or 3 angles looking towards where all these gadgets are being deployed by G2 and still cannot find a way through. Pengu, once again in this game, as you just saw, back at the top of the scoreboard.
Pengu
for a support player.
14-3 between the two of them. 5 rounds into a match. It's just phenomenal what we're seeing from them today. There we go, thank you, Matt.
And even Bullet had a pretty good map last time. You remember in the first 2 rounds of Villa, he was the one finding the opening kills, but this map yet to find himself on the scoreboard at all.
He can be a little bit hit and miss, can Bullet. I did touch on it earlier. Against Black Dragons, we saw him play very well on Villa, 14-9, but that was map 3. Looking back at map 2, which interestingly was Clubhouse, he went 5-10 and really struggled to get into the game. So, you know, it's one of them you really need against a team like G2. All of your players to be stepping up. Everybody has to be contributing. To be honest, I'm not really being too critical of MIBR here. I think you could have any of the other best teams in the world up against G2 today, and they're going to struggle. G2 just seem to be flying. It really does seem to be impressive. Whether it be run-outs, jump-outs, peaks, whether it be holding sight as a turtle, whatever it is, they just seem to be making the right decisions.
It's what I found most interesting, because I did wonder what would happen when they would start playing this more turtle-based style of playing 4 or 5 on site and not really worrying about having a roamer anywhere. They're still playing the same way, where they're happy to take the gunfights, they're happy just to play around the utility more than anything and stop MIBR getting into spot. The bans have just played so beautifully heavy in their favour. I think as soon as they saw that Maverick ban, they were like, thank you very much, we'll ban the Thermite here, and really put you in a bind because you're the ones on attack first, and we know that when things switch over, we have answers to those problems.
Well, that's going to be the interesting question, Des. What are the answers going to be? And I'm sure that G2 have got something in mind, but that is going to be the one potential pitfall here, is them getting onto the attack and struggling to do what they need to do with those hard breach operators off the board. They really do. It is essential. Look at that from Fabian, the confidence to keep shooting. He knew that there was a man there who was happy to move back into his line of sight. Now, that's the Hibana off the board as well. They probably won't be aware of that at this stage because the view was very, very slim of who he was actually shooting at, but that is a big, big blow for MIBR.
I like how they just completely gave up on trying to push the wall all together, and G2 have even said, I think we can probably hold this without the need for a Kaid here. Great shot from the Fireball up onto the wall, though, or onto the ceiling, I should say, so it falls straight down onto Catwalk. It means there's some pressure being applied onto Fabian, but it doesn't matter because he finds another kill onto Bullet. He will stay on 0 kills so far. Novice will find a trade back, but Kanto's elsewhere to find one. He finds 2 and gets the trade. Uno finds another, and just like on Villa, it's a 5-1 start to the map for G2.
And what we've just witnessed there is exactly the problem. When Fabian and Pengu come out and go 14-3 over the first 5 rounds between them, you get a situation, Fabian comes in, gets himself a couple of kills there, but as a team playing against that, it's very easy to forget that actually we've also got Kanto Raketti, we've also got Uno, and we've also got Crying on this map to play against. And then look what happens, they move in, they get the kill onto Fabian, and Kanto and Uno come in and just mop things up. Absolutely not a problem. There's just so much strength in depth here today.
Bit of a quick timeout being called there, I imagine, completely by MIBR's side. As we can see, they are now 2 rounds away from potentially being knocked out and sent home here on the first day. They will have been the team to win the fewest rounds, I imagine, so far. Again, you compare themselves against Nora Rengo earlier on, and wouldn't be surprised with how things are going for G2 if that remains true at the end of the day as well.
Honestly, at this point, you know, you're in a tactical timeout. You're the coach of MIBR. I think all that you can realistically say is, you know, what do we want to see in Croatia for the next few days? You know, what sites do we want to go and check out?
You're going to check out Kills Palace, guys. You know, catch a train somewhere.
Maybe, you know, because at this point, that is, unfortunately for them, what is going to be happening. The thing is, it is a little bit disappointing because MIBR coming through the close quals, I would say, for my money, were one of the teams that provided us with the most entertainment. They had an unbelievable 44-round game against Black Dragons that was an absolute joy to watch. Their other games were great as well. And the LATAM playstyle is always something that's exciting to watch. It's always intriguing. It's a bit different, especially, you know, when we're focused in the EU and NA regions particularly. We don't necessarily see too much of it other than what we see in the Pro League. So it's great to see it. And it is a shame to see them get rolled over like this, but they've just met G2 on the wrong day.
It's been a rough day to come up against a team that is clearly on the up now as well. You speak to some of the backroom staff from G2 and they'll tell you, yep, things have been going really well. We're really excited to see how things go with Crying. So far, it's been working out absolutely wonderfully for them. And this is the biggest issue, I think, is because LATAM as a region. I don't know why I said that.
As it will henceforth be known.
Henceforth be known as LATAM, yeah. As a region, they are regarded as the frag-heavy region. They like going for the kills. It's quite chaotic in style. There's a lot of jump-outs, you name it. That style isn't working against G2. So what have you got to fall back on? There is nothing. You're losing out on gun skill. You're losing out on setups. They could not get a single reinforced wall open in that first half of the map. What's left for you to do?
That's exactly how it's felt. If MIBR were going to have any joy here, it was going to be in aggression and gun skill. As it is, G2 have come in and completely taken that away from them. In a number of ways. They've not just come in and gone absolutely crazy aggressive. We've only seen 1 or 2 run-outs and peaks from G2 that have generally been successful. They've also stifled them very well with the defences that they've been playing, with the tactics they've been using. So it's been a real mixture from G2 as to how they've dealt with those strengths of the LATAM region.
Well, let's see how MIBR can set up on their defensive side. They are at least borrowing something from G2 here in playing out with the Kaid. The Pulse on side as well just screams they'll be playing around that kitchen area, playing with the pulse, trying to find it when G2 do get in and start opening things up. G2 have corrected, or should I say, not made the same mistake that MIBR made back in their first round, and they have brought some soft breach with them. They've got hold of not only the Ash, but they've also got that oh-so-crucial Buck to start opening up a lot of that soft flooring. The biggest one, though, for me, is the Ying being brought in. Very rarely do we see that, but back when she first came out, used very often to throw some Candelas into sight, you drop in, you try and make magic happen from the back of that. Very interesting to see how they use this.
Early progress from G2 here into the garage. It looks like there's not going to be too much of a challenge in and around the map. It's generally what we see from Church and Arsenal. We can see early shots going in towards Cyber on the Jaeger there. He really did want to be aggressive onto that blue stairs window, but Uno was having absolutely none of it on the Ash. Comes through the window firing, will take some damage, only a small amount, but that is one bullet. That's one bullet damage done. And when you come into the late round, that is the one bullet that could make a difference. And that's what I love about Siege. It is absolutely fine margins. If you come in and neither of those players get a headshot when they come together, Cyber now loses that gunfight because of the damage that was done to him in the early rounds. So that could be extremely important as this plays out. We can see the Buck of Kanto Raketti just opening things up there, something that we commented that the Sledge of MIBR just failed to do. We can see what looks like a successful impact trick there, just taking the Hibana pellets off the kitchen hatch. Very keen to get this kitchen hatch open. They will in fact burn all 3 sets of X-Kairos pellets doing so. And they will be unsuccessful. How about that from MIBR? Great plays from them. There was a double impact trick, and then Hugzord was able to get in there and just get the electrical placed in time to open things up. And without a thermite available, you've no way to get around that.
And the thing is, you pick the Ying here because you want to be throwing those Candelas through into Armory, because you cover so much area with them that makes it almost impossible for defenders to be able to hold angles against you. Now that you can't do that, you're forced to go for the kind of push that we saw coming out of MIBR. Going for a C4 over the top, but not quite managing to connect it. Novus has got to know someone's on the other side of this now. Will he find Pengu with it? The answer is no. Barely even takes a tickle for his trouble. Now got to try and push through Moto or force their way in towards Armory. Either way, this is a real pinch situation coming through for G2.
This is a very, very important point of the round. Spending all the hard breach utility without any success is going to make things very difficult. In goes the Ying, in goes Kanto. Hugzord picks up Fabian, and that now leaves us in a 5 versus 2 very, very quickly as kills flying for MIBR. 5-1, and this was almost inevitable. Flawless round for them. Are the operator bans coming to bite G2?
You can see how tough it gets. You're absolutely right. How tough it gets when you cannot get one of those hatches open. Really good rotation by MIBR, by the way. Using first the 2 impact nades coming out of the Legion and ending it up with the Electro Claw. It was unlucky for G2 because both times, as we saw, they were baited out into using an EMP in the expectation an Electro Claw would follow. It just wasn't the case. Both times it was the impacts. They were just burning so much utility. The X-Kairos and the EMPs being traded out literally by an impact nade. So really well played by MIBR to keep them guessing on what was coming next.
MIBR must have had a little chuckle at that point, because obviously G2, I think, had it in the minds that, yeah, it's fine. We'll burn 2 impact nades. All we want is that hatch open. We're going to Ying drop it, so that's fine. That's all we need. And I think they had it in the mind that they'd just get Fabian up on the window and use all 3 sets of pellets. They can only impact trick 2. Yeah, we're sorted. And then in came the electrical. And I think that was probably a little bit of a surprise.
I think we all thought it was going open then as well.
At that point, I think MIBR are well deserved to have a little chuckle to themselves. They've had one over on them there at that point.
You want to feel the pain that we've had for the first half of this map? Your turn, G2.
Here it is.
See how this feels. Suffer because of it. But now we change over sides, of course, with that being a victory over to MIBR. Playing on CCTV and Cash. Now, I'm really curious to see whether or not G2 expend a lot of time and utility into trying to get this wall open. There is only, once again, going to be the Kaid on side, not bringing the Bandit, whereas when G2 are on this site, we saw them bring both.
So heading into the action phase then, we can see Hugzord just in there along with M-King looking to keep hold of the garage. We know how important that can be once you get the garage control. It really does facilitate the attackers in getting deeper into the site and starting to think about getting a plant down. Now, again, the question will come. Are we going to see the East Wall opened? It's not going to be an easy job. We've got Hugzord on the Kaid, and we've also got Bullet on the Mute, so there is plenty of utility there to prevent that East Wall being opened up. As it is, the Mute Jammer is cleared. At this point, Fabian could look to push onto that wall, but I think there is a possibility that Kaid might be playing it from distance. I'm not too sure.
Oh, he's
we'll find
downstairs
out in a minute. Yeah, that's it. He doesn't. I wasn't sure if he was keeping himself a line of sight through the window or not to play it from distance, but he is not. The priority has been put on keeping the garage double walls secure. So now we can see that the east wall is open. Pengu, a position we've seen him many times as the maestro, getting himself up the garage stairs and looking to root out the player up at the top there. We can see the threat of a C4 coming from Hugsword, while meanwhile Cyber gets himself a kill onto Uno, so that now leaves us in a 5 versus 4, and G2 finding out that attacking Clubhouse without a lot of hard breach is not an easy task at all.
I'm half surprised they don't try and rotate this Monty away here and have him step inside, but I imagine it's the fact that there's potential angles coming in from garage, there's angles coming in from the top of stairs. A bit too risky when they start looking at it that way. Now, he is pushing his way up onto Catwalk here, but the trade comes through. Hugsword finds Crying, which means it's Monty being up here really can't achieve much. In fact, he almost goes away with it. Does get a kill. That skillful rotation to use the shield being bashed away, as the literal shield for him was fantastic. But MIBR still find kills, and Kanto rounds things out with a self-grenade. MIBR holds strong, 2 defensive rounds back-to-back.
Something goes wrong for Kanto there. Not completely sure who or where he was trying to nade, but it will detonate and take him off the map for that round. So that's now 5-3. MIBR getting themselves a couple on the defence in quick succession. Not too much of a surprise here. We do see this being a definitely defender-sided map. That said, gym bedroom, tertiary site. MIBR need the win here. I think if G2 can get themselves onto 6, get themselves onto that match point, it then becomes very difficult. This is going to be the turning point, or not, of this map.
If MIBR win this, they probably go on to win the map, I think, because if you win this round, it goes 6-3 as G2. The next 2 rounds, as you probably would expect, will go the side of MIBR, and you would assume, coming back to it, that they would win it the next time round, ending things on 7-5. It's why you see so many maps go 4-2 towards the defenders, is because the 2 primary sites, you're pretty confident in defending. They're pretty good sites to defend. The off-site is the less optimal one. It's the one where the attackers can take things away if they're orchestrated and prepared for it. Now we get to see if that is the case in this matchup. Otherwise, it's that third map that I think many of us would want to see between these 2 teams to decide who proceeds into the semi-finals.
So heading towards the action phase of round number 9 then, 5-3 in favour of G2. They came out on their defensive half very strong, taking that 5-1, but MIBR not phased in the slightest, and they are no doubt happy to get themselves onto the defensive side, seeing how much they struggled without the hard breach available. Of course, not forgetting that both Maverick and Thermite off the board, so that puts an awful lot of value into the Hibana, and we've seen some really successful tricking using those electrical gadgets. We won't have any on the board this time, interestingly, Des. So are they largely giving up on the hot tub wall?
Maybe, but I'm looking towards that Twitch and thinking, what's the aim with this one? I think, again, it was in case we do see the Bandit and the Kai being brought together, so maybe you're right. Maybe they just say, you know what? Let them have it. They can't open both walls completely. They have to spend 2 X-Kairos getting the first one open, because trying to crawl through it is going to be a death trap. You then have 1 left for the second wall, which points in towards bathroom. It's just such a risk, I feel, will be the concern that they're just not willing to play or entertain that kind of game right now. So they'd rather take things like the Legion and try and play themselves a little bit safer, give themselves more utility to play on site, but Pengu's going to find one onto Novice. So immediately, that man advantage is on their side and the Legion is gone. One of those operators, like Smoke, whose value only increases the longer a round goes on.
Not only is the man advantage in their favour, they have got the option, as we've said, of getting that hot tub wall open without any real resistance by the looks of things. We've got Bullet back here in the drug lab, and he's going to just be holding tight at the minute, waiting for the push that is inevitably coming from Uno on the Ash, who's made his way into garage. We can just see him holding the single window there. We've got M-King just backing him up on the Maestro there, and they're just really trying to hold that cash site. But it's interesting to comment, we haven't seen the hot tub wall opened yet, even though it is completely free. So obviously G2 just looking to potentially do something a little bit different with that, maybe not going to put that into part of their attack. As you say, Des, there's not the option to get themselves into bathroom. They don't necessarily have the options to be opening up castle walls quickly with Uno pushing from garage side. Kanto will be taken out from above by Cyber. Great shots from him, and that leaves us in a 4 versus 4, squaring things away for MIBR.
think that was actually from the outside in towards lobby there, rather than being on the horizontal kill on the vertical one. But Cyber's going to find his second with the rotation up the stairs. Now G2 find themselves in a spot where it's 4 versus 3. They've still got 2 men outside the building, and they are going to really struggle to make this site work for them if they can't get some kills from the top of this hatch.
So 30 seconds to go. It's all up to G2 to push forward. Let's not forget that the advantage is always naturally with the defenders because the bot works in their favour. 20 seconds to go. M-King moves in and gets the kill onto Fabian. Cyber with one onto Pengu, and that is the collapse that MIBR needed. Crying will get one onto Cyber, but at this point I think it will be impactless as he has to move in through the window. M-King gets the kill, and that is a statement from MIBR. They've taken successful defences on all 3 sites, and they've really brought themselves back into this one.
They could go on to win this map now if they keep up this form and this performance. G2 are the ones who have got to come up with some fresh ideas to deal with these sites where so far they have really struggled. The thing is, they now know that we're going downstairs. They're the ones who can now make some adaptations and say, okay, we're back into this cycle of rotations. What can we change? What can we bring? Immediately Kanto's onto that buck, same as last time round. Want to see that used to more effect in terms of opening up more of the corridor this time. They got a bit open last time, but didn't put too much stock into it. And that Twitch is being brought up once again with Pengu switching onto that fragging operator. Again for that drone, I think, to deal with the Kaid from below.
Very, very difficult for G2 now because looking at the last time we played this site, they had very little success. They tried to open kitchen hatch, which failed, and then they had to push down through the corridor, past triple wall, and try to get themselves into sight somehow around Moto or potentially into the back of Armory, which they failed to do, really. I look at this and I think, right, what are your options? What do you do differently? And without having that hard breach, other than Hibana, it makes things very difficult because even if you choose to come down to Church Wall, for me, Church Wall is too big of a risk just for a Hibana because one impact trick and you're in the same situation again. Because like you said, Des, with a wall, you need to be getting 2, really. You need to be getting 6 pellets on there, 12 pellets on there, to open it up big enough to crouch through without having to crawl. So at that point, if you lose those 12 pellets, you're pretty much stuck again. So I think Church without a thermite becomes very, very difficult.
It does, and trying to make this work, I mean, you really want to spend most of those on hatches rather than looking towards something like Church Wall. We spoke already about this Twitch a couple of times, though, and what it can do to get rid of the Kaid if needs be. You're also looking towards the pulse plane from below, though. That's where some threat comes in, especially if you're trying to assault into somewhere like Kitchen.
2 minutes 30 then, with 30 seconds off the clock so far and not too much progress made immediately from G2. They are taking things a little bit more slowly than they did last time. They were obviously very focused on getting the kitchen hatch open and working down that way. This is not going to be the case this time. Now, they will see the feet of Cyber as he moves up to the top of blue stairs, but he will see another drone and immediately drop himself back down. We can see there Pengu on the Twitch drone just feeding information into Crying, who's going to look to start heading down blue stairs soon. I am sure we've got Kanto Raketti moving in from the strip area, and top floor control, mid floor control are all belonging to G2 at this point. So it's time to start opening things up with the book, skeleton key, and just start looking to see what you can find in sight. Can you get any cheat picks early in the round? They're going to help you just to push onto that site, because right now, as we saw the last time they tried to assault this from downstairs, they do not want to be having to push all 5 down main stairs to try and get into either of these sites, because MIBR did a very capable job last time out of just getting things done. This
feels so reminiscent. It's deja vu of last round where they had 3 pushing down main stairs. It's exactly where we saw them die out last time. The C4 can get a double! Novus finds 2, and that is put a massive dent in G2's attack. Nice and early. The Ash and the Twitch, the 2 big fragging operators, are gone. You're relying so much now on this work coming in from the hatch on the upstairs. They've got the crucial utility, but they've only got 60 seconds to go, and they're 2 men down.
2 men down they are, with a great play from the Pulse. Fabian just moving his way into Church now. We know that the players remaining on G2 have the capability to clutch out rounds, and how about that for a headshot from Fabian, just snapping onto Hugzord there and taking him off the map. for good. Crying's going to move down into blue corridor. He will trigger the Legion Mine though. Novice steps out and gets the kill onto Fabian, leaving us in a 2 versus 4. Kanto pushing into Moto. He's got Crying on the opposite side. The danger here is that they are completely separated. They are having to play as 2 individuals. Kanto will get the first kill on to Novice, and that now leaves us in a 2 versus 3. We do still have Cyber down in the blue corridor. He's being supported by Bullet, who's just using those toxic babes to keep Crying at bay. Kanto will be downed. It's all down to Crying. He can't even get the first. Cyber takes him off the board, and that's another round for MIBR. They really are on the train at the minute.
They absolutely are, and I think at this point you start looking towards that third map as G2. You've lost 4 rounds on the bounce going into round number 11. It's 5-5. This is really not going the way that you wanted it to. And we did say at the start, Club is a pretty popular map. A lot of teams are starting to play it these days. But even for G2, clearly MIBR come prepared. And it's those double bans again, like you said. It keeps coming back to it. Having both of those removed and only the Hibana to rely on is punishing them so ridiculously hard right now. Twice they've pushed down main stairs, twice they've been C4'd out, and twice they've lost the rounds trying to push in for that.
Well, it's one of them situations where you look at it and you think, we're on defence first, so let's take Thermite, let's take Maverick off the board, and let's give ourselves a good lead. And that's exactly what G2 did. They hope to take advantage of that, getting into the second half, 5-1 up, 6-0 up, and just needing 1 or 2 rounds. So their mentality there is, we can definitely pick up 1 or 2 on the attack. Gym bedroom is probably where they're looking towards. As it is, that's backfiring a little bit, because not only have MIBR matched them so far, they still have the option of actually bettering the 5-1 that G2 actually achieved and going 6-0 and just winning the thing straight out.
Last time they tried this push with the Monty on side as well, they put 2 inside Garage, had him pushing up on towards the catwalk. We saw exactly what happened. He was up there by himself. Didn't matter who was standing at door trying to support him. They got picked off because they weren't behind the cover of the Monty. I think they also didn't open up the wall last time either. We were saying, why isn't that wall being opened up? Why have they left it reinforced in this case and not bothered to get that line of sight through to stop the rotations coming out of Garage? That's going to be the big change for G2. The problem is they are doing the same thing round after round on each of these sites and aren't showing the flexibility we need them to if they're going to be able to disrupt and upset MIBR here.
And the problem is, I think they just don't have the tools to create that flexibility. They don't have any more options because of the bans that they've brought into place, and that is part of the problem. They don't have the facility to be able to push from a different angle, because you know what, they can only open up 1 wall. They've only got a choice of 1 wall, so it is proving very difficult. As soon as that wall is opened, or not, as the case may be, MIBR know the Hibana pellets are done, so we don't need to worry about all these other reinforcements because none of them are getting breached. So now we know exactly where the push is coming from.
It does create very focused avenues of fire for both teams where you know the fights are going to take place. Like you say, certain walls or avenues can't be opened. All the focus goes down towards the other locations. And this is a very slow start from G2. Last time round, they were pretty quick at getting inside a Garage with the Capitale, with the Monty. I believe last time it wasn't actually the Capitale they sent in here with him. Otherwise, they could have firebolted their way up on towards Catwalk. This might be the key change we see them utilise here to make sure Garage is clear. They do have 1 holding in towards Stock, though, down towards the right-hand side.
Gonna have to be careful of Hugsword down there on the Kaid. We can just see him moving round. He just wants to keep himself back a little bit, doesn't want to give his position away too soon. Drone gets taken out. Will it have seen the Kaid? I'm sure Pengu has by now. He's got the view on his shield. And there's the threat once again of that C4 toss. MIBR have put the Nitro to great use so far in this fixture. They've got a number of kills there, and Pengu's just going to move himself slowly up. The danger that he's got is to keep his shield towards the Kaid, leaves him exposed to the Maestro camera. So it is very difficult. He's taken a little bit of damage there, but now that he's got himself far enough up, he is safe from that at least. And with an angle onto the Maestro cam, it's just meaning they can't open that up because they are going to lose it. They know that. Pengu just trying to drop his shield and see if he can put shots here. And he will move in and get the kill. I don't think he will. It was Crying who got the kill. Pengu will be lost in the battle. Cyber one of his own. Hugsword follows it up. And this is collapsing through Garage Door very, very quickly. Is Garage Door where G2's dreams end on Clubhouse? Because right now, MIBR are in pole position and ready to take the lead here for the first time.
Same thing again and again. They just keep on following themselves the same way. Why we didn't have someone playing on the other side of double doors? The Hibana getting a sightline through up into Catwalk in towards sight is beyond me. Not that it matters too much, as now it's a 3 versus 1 for MIBR. Crying has got about 10 HP to his name and a dream. But MIBR say this is a nightmare, not a dream. They go 6-5 and they are 1 round away from forcing map number 3.
Gym and bedroom will be the final location. Can they take them to map number 3 on gym and bedroom? It is always going to be a risky site. But what I would have to say, coming through last time, I can't say that G2 particularly pushed them on there. It wasn't overly close. They didn't open the hot tub wall. That was a choice they made not to do that. Absolutely fine. But then they just seemed to get funneled everywhere else into single lines of fire, whereby they were cut down and just couldn't really be effective. So I would like to see them this time just open up that hot tub wall and give themselves the option of moving in through 2 sides.
Look at the kills as well. Cyber and Novice, 2 of the big players that we spoke about back in the qualifiers. Getting a lot of kills on the jump outs, a lot of opening kills, but also a lot of opening deaths. Just doing absolute work here today for them as well, against a team like G2 who had such a strong performance on Villa. But I have to hark back and think, and not say let's not start doubting G2 right now. They are still a very good side. Villa was their map pick. They looked excellent, and we were there singing their praises all day long. We've come onto a map like Clubhouse that they should be very proficient at, and they are struggling down to their own creation here with these bans.
They really, really are. And it's just the El Clasico backfire, Des. It really is. They've just come in and thought, you know, we can take the advantage here. We can manipulate that situation. And unfortunately, the one attacking round that they had to win, and that's all it really would have took either side, is to win one attacking round. And it was MIBR who won it. And now coming through onto their defence, they've been able to do what G2 couldn't. And they've been able so far to keep them to 5-0. Will that end 6-0, or will we see some overtime? That's a really interesting prospect, because if it goes to overtime, whoever starts on the defence gains a huge advantage, and G2 could come away from this unscathed if that is the case.
It's pretty crazy how so often we would criticise teams who chose to ban away Thatcher on this map, and it just really slowed things down. But it's exactly the same story here. Admittedly, it takes 2 bans rather than 1, but you're in a spot where it's almost impossible for any team to be able to get through any of the reinforced walls. So I agree with you. Whatever happens in overtime, if we get there, it's going to be down to who starts on that defensive side. And I believe it's G2 who get the pick on that, because they were the ones who picked the map, didn't pick side, therefore you pick sides in overtime as well.
So they're going to be looking to get themselves the first couple of kills here. That has to be a priority. Get themselves man advantage. We can see ADS is being burnt. That's going to allow the castle to be open. And this signals that they are going to try and open the hot tub wall this time. So they're not sure if there's a bandit in play or not. You open the castle in the gym. You can place somebody on the single window. And it just allows you to prevent any bandit from bandit tricking. We can see Fabian now getting those Hibana pellets onto the wall. And they will start to be open. Cyber, however, will pick up the first kill onto Kanto Raketti. That is the book off the board. 5 versus 4 now in favour of MIBR, and they are in pole position to come through and to take the lead here. Take the map, in fact, and get themselves on to 1 apiece and force that 3rd map. We can see Pengu holding a very interesting angle in through the hatch. That is a new one on me, and we can just see that Uno is obviously aware that there is a man still in CCTV. But the question is, what are you doing to clear him out? It's no use just holding a window necessarily at long range onto him, because at this rate, mark my words, Cyber is going to end up punishing them.
Okay, getting a whack-a-mole here as well. Uno just hammering in towards Cyber, who goes, there's no way you get in my head. Taken off here inside a sight, and it's a very much so a horizontal spread coming out of MIBR in this round. They're not trying anything crazy like playing downstairs or just trying to upset people with runouts. They're all playing in the same spot, but a great shot comes through, and Cyber is an absolute thorn in their side here as well. Another one comes through into a 5 versus 2. G2 are down to just Uno and Pengu to save this round for them, but Cyber finds a triple. G2 are about to lose out on Clubhouse here and find us going through into the 3rd map to determine the victor of this series. It's entirely down to Uno on the Ash. He can't find it. It's a flawless round to close things out. And MIBR take map number 2.
Very solid performance from MIBR on the defence there. We came into that really thinking that G2 were going to steamroll the way through, and at 5-1 it seemed like it was said and done. But MIBR showing some fantastic resilience there to keep themselves in the game. I hate to say I called it, but Cyber just wasn't cleared out of CCTV. Holding a long angle from the roof there is not sufficient to move somebody out of that location. And given 10 seconds. They'd moved away from the angle, and Cyber was free to do Cyber things, and that was get himself a triple kill.
Gotta say, I'm now nervous about Consulate. G2 have played it once, won it once, and banned it 8 times in recent history. Now, they could have been doing a lot of work with Cryan since he joined the team, but just think about the map itself. What is Consulate renowned for? It's renowned for a lot of gunfights. It's renowned for a lot of soft flooring. It's renowned for a lot of jump outs. Think of 3 things that work in MIBR's favour. They are the 3 things that spring to mind. This is not the strat-heavy map I think that G2 would have endeavoured to go to, something like a cafe. Instead, they're being forced to play on Consulate, and I'm somewhat worried for them now.
I would agree with you, but we haven't really seen too much of that from MIBR, to be fair. We haven't seen any jump outs. We haven't seen any peaks. If anything, it's as if these 2 teams have switched around, and MIBR there have actually been the more concise, site-based, objective-based team that you would expect from an EU team. And G2 were the ones picking up, you know, the odd crazy kill on the Uno run-out at Kennels is the immediate example that springs to mind. So I don't know what's going to happen on Consulate. The one thing I do know, it's going to be a good one. It's
going to be spicy. This is already looking like a super hot series. You don't want to disappear anywhere. Back with you in just a few minutes for map number 3 to see if it's G2 or MIBR joining us in the semi-finals.